Guys, welcome to the channel. Hey, I've got that 1931 5-window Ford coupe in here that belongs to my buddy Marcus. Hey, we're going to be jumping into this. If it's something you're into, stick around. Let's do this. Welcome to Potter County, Patina. Well, guys, we're at that long-awaited moment. I think we all have been wanting to check out this car. So, I don't know if he has a name for it, and if he does, we'll stick with that. He's going to be by here later today to drop off the keys and the new battery. But let's jump into this. I know there's a few things that I need to say firsthand. Whenever I'm going through this, I want you to understand, in no way, shape, or form am I bashing this car. I would love to have this thing. This thing is rad. And there's a lot of stuff that's been done to it, a lot of stuff that still needs to be done to it. But as I'm going through this, please do, and I want you to keep this in mind, I'm not bashing this car, okay? Whoever had it did what they could do with what they had, and I completely get it. I don't know that the geometry's right. There's some stuff like this. So just keep that in mind. I'm not talking smack on this car. I would love to have this. This is how I like to find stuff. Somebody put this together and ran it and drove it and sold it. You know what I mean? It was one of those type deals. So there's a lot that still needs to be done. So with that being said, there was two things that my buddy mentioned to me, okay? His name is Marcus. There's two things that Marcus mentioned to me. He said, one is comfort. This thing is not comfortable whatsoever. He took this on a rod run. He picked it up, took it on a rod run, and he said it's hard to drive. Hard to drive being it kind of skates on the road, but two being that it beats him up. And I completely get it. This is old school suspension, best I can tell. We'll go through it and see. We may need to change out some springs, you know, that sort of thing. Number two is safety. We've got to make sure that whenever he goes to take this to Arizona and Las Vegas and all the stuff that he does, that this thing is clean, that it's safe, and it's reliable, okay? So safety being, we don't know anything about this. He picked it up, took it on a rod run. I think he said that it broke down on him, but it was something real simple. They got it put back together. He took it to a friend's shop to have some headlight mounts made for it and then brought it straight over here. We're going to go through this, okay? There's a lot of chicken poop welds. By chicken poop, I mean welds that didn't penetrate. There's a lot of that. We need to clean it up, reconfigure it, bracket it up, gusset it up, that sort of thing, okay? So I'm not talking shit on this. I love this car. And Marcus, I certainly appreciate you bringing it by to have me take care of it for you. And I got about 3 months on this deal before his first big rod run. And it's halfway across the United States. So, well, we're in Texas, it's in Arizona, so not half. It's still a good ways away. Okay, so I'm going to open up the doors, guys. We're going to kind of walk around this. Let me get a flashlight because I'm going to need to put it inside so that you can see. I need to move one of my big shop lights back over there, and that would certainly help out. But I'm going to flip you around. Let's jump into this, okay? All right. So I'm hoping you guys can see this. Let me stick this light inside to where we kind of have something to look at here in just a minute. So I'm going to start on the front of this, okay? And I'm not picking this apart. So all of this was previously done. All right, let me get my stool because this is going to help me walk around some stuff. And I may have to cut this into several videos, all right? The way that they have this front spring mounted looks rough, okay? Now, you can see what I'm talking about. Like, it's just rough. You know what I mean? There's a cleaner, easier, more aesthetic way of doing that. Okay? These springs, if you're looking at these springs, these aren't springs. People just put some mild steel in here. So, and they tried to make it look like springs. These first two are, but these last three are not. Okay, now I don't know if they were trying to raise it up, if they were trying to lower it. I don't know what was going on. But that's going to have to change too, okay? Now, his buddy did do these light mounts with the shocks on there. And I do like those. He did a good job. Nice hot welds. Like, it's burned in. It looks good, okay? One thing that I've noticed, this I really think needs to be done elsewhere, or something needs to be done with that. Now, the piece that's holding the frame in, so we're looking at this. See how this is just cut? And they just got some square tubing in there? If this all had round tubing and it was cleaned up and put over, that would look so much better. You know what I mean? Or do something, at least round the corners off and just clean this up where it doesn't look like you just used a bunch of angle iron. So that's one of my deals, okay? He hasn't drove this for a while. It's been sitting outside. And we need to go through the brakes and that sort of stuff. All of this needs to be cleaned up, okay? These welds look like they probably penetrated. It's going to be hard to say. So we're probably just going to sand those down, kind of clean it up and see, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. But it's disc braked on the front. It's done right. There needs to be a few Carter pins in here. They got a stack of washers on here instead of truing up the bushing in it, you know, back here on this, on your steering. The rod that's on the steering is just welded. So I'm looking down here at this, okay? Can you see this? See how it's just welded together like cold roll welded to a Heim joint, and they overlapped it with like a piece of 1/8 inch, and just that's not good, and it's not true, you know what I mean? So you got parallel lines running, and you got one that's all hobcobbled off to the side, and then you've got one that it's not right. So that needs to be fixed. All the Heim joints we need to go through, clean out, make sure that the nylon inside is still good, that sort of thing. All right, this radiator shell, you can see, and it was pieced together, and I'm not picking that apart. That's not too horrible, but that could have been tacked in. Clean this weld up. This is just some grating from like Lowe's, you know, off that little shelf they had. If that was brass or copper, that would be so much cooler looking. And I like the surround itself. It's pretty neat. It's an original piece. Okay. This radiator support they have in here, it looks like it was just a piece to like a lawn spreader, like for fertilizer, and they just cut some stuff off, and you can see how they made brackets and stuff. I'm not into that. At least clean it up and make it a little better. And the way that it's mounted down here, they've got some sheet metal screws that are painted over and hammered this piece around it. So I'd like to see something done with that that's better than that. Okay. Their alternator mount, on one hand, you're like very crafty. On the other hand, you're like horrible craftsmanship. Like, I see what they were doing. I understand it. But something better could have been done with that. And I know they wanted to do it so that they could use the one belt, which is never, well, it's not a great idea. I'll put it that way. Not that it's not never, but it's not a fantastic idea. I'd like to see a different pulley set on here. If you can see on this water pump is just riding on one side of the belt. Like, it's touching by like 1 inch. You know what I mean? So if that belt starts slipping, it's going to overheat. So I'd like to see a dual belt setup, and I've got a bunch of pulleys and stuff sitting up there that, you know, we'll get into that, okay? The carburetor linkage is wonky as well. You can see all the sheet metal screws just kind of holding two pieces together that was made of one thing or another. You know, I mean, it is what it is. That's just all that it is, okay? Everything else looks pretty decent. It's got an Edelbrock intake on it, a Holley carburetor, you know, some neat valve covers. I said a 350. I think he told me, no, it's a 327. My apologies. It's a 327. I don't know the head casting numbers. I'll figure those out and we'll let you know. But we want to make some cool motor mounts because these are always obvious. You always see them. So we want to make some cool motor mounts and get them tucked up in there. You know, this is gusseted up, the bottom part of it. It'd be cooler with a little bigger hole in there and then all these welds cleaned up. This is one of the points of concern. Guys, this is just like 16th inch steel. You can see where they just beat some stuff on there and welded it in. On the back, it's not gusseted up. So it's just welded here, and then there's a flat plate, like this piece that's on top is a flat plate, and they welded it to the other side of the frame as well. So it's just holding on by this weld and that same weld on the other side of the frame. There's no support to the outside of this, okay? That's your steering. That's what's keeping that front end true. And I don't know that it's even true. So I'm gonna have to find a midpoint, measure some stuff and see, you know what I mean? Probably from the center of the hub, pull the tires and wheels off and do center of the hub to a fixed point, and maybe to the rear wheels and see, you know, if one side's 3/4 inch shorter or longer than the other, that sort of thing. So you can see where the steering is just poking through the firewall. Okay, we want to clean this up and make something cool. All right, so stay with me. We're getting there. So I understand how they did the proportioning valve. I don't hate it. Could it be a little different? Yes, but I understand it. You know what I mean? There's not a ton that you can do with that to make it look much cooler. Now, this could have been painted. This could be an accent painted color. I love the Batwing snorkel or the Batwing air cleaner, that sort of thing. Has HEI on it. So there's a lot of really good bonuses to this, okay? So just stay with me. We're midway through, all right? So there's a little rust at the bottom. That's gonna be easy enough to patch up. This body line, I'm gonna look into a lot more of these. I think that that's supposed to be that way. One thing that drives me nuts is why they put unistrut, a cut piece of unistrut on the windshield frame. I will make a piece, dimple dye it up to where it at least looks like a cool window frame, okay, and get that in. And I do like the fact that this has a little bit bent over. Maybe it needs to be bent over a little more so, and with a cool pattern on it so that it does kind of deflect the wind just a little bit. I don't know with having holes out here if it would whistle, but it's not going to be hard to make this look better, okay? He said he has an original frame that's, I think he said it was cut down already. I'm not real sure. This has a 5-inch chop on it, guys. So the windshield, okay? Something needs to be done with this. I don't like that. Now, let me get to some things that I think are pretty cool, but do need a good amount of work, all right? This is for the hood and that sort of thing. So the way that they did this, and I like having the ribs in there. I think that's a cool look. The way that they did it is traditional, and I'm good with that. There's nothing, I can beat this out with a hammer and get this all cleaned up. Now, this visor has a good bit of rot right in, or this drip rail has a good bit of rot right here. So a lot of this needs to be reconfigured anyhow. I would like to see this visor sticking out here more so. So what I may do is get rid of this drip rail right here and make an awesome visor and just have this drip rail where it runs into itself and smooths itself out. Use some 1/4 inch round bar, make a frame, make a badass visor that comes down, you know, like so, and put some speed holes in it. When I say speed holes, a dimple dies type deal. But I do like the way that this has this ribbed top on it. Now, a lot of it needs to be cleaned up. And the way that they have this smoothed out on here, I think he said this come off a Ford Explorer. The guy told him that. I do want to fix the rear of this to do the same thing where it just body molds itself back into this. Because I think this is a cool look. Now, there's a lot of structure that needs to happen up underneath there, you know, on the inside of the car. And we'll get there here in just a second. But the chop itself is very clean. They did a good job on it. It's It's not bad at all. There's a little bit of stuff that needs to match up, but all in all, the chop just needs to be finished. It's pretty good. It's really good. So there's nothing to knock on that. And the stance on this thing is killer. Like, I like everything about that. Okay. There's a little bit that needs to be cleaned up down here. That's a common rust problem. Not such a big deal. That can be taken care of. We're not fretting about that. This lid needs to be cleaned up. This deck lid, trunk lid, hatch lid, rumble seat lid needs to be cleaned up. It's not bad looking, but you can tell that this has stood the test of time. I love the holes in here. That's a cool place to already start, okay? So that'll be taken off. I'll wire brush all that down. Just get it cleaned up to where it can look better, all right? So the way that they have this rear configured is a pretty easy way to understand it. So the back of this frame this is a Z frame, okay? Front and rear is the way I understand it. So they got a pretty good size fuel cell in here. Everything makes sense. It's got a fuel gauge, that sort of thing. I don't know. They've got coilovers on here. I don't know that the geometry is right. It looks right, and it looks like a S10 rear end, and it is 4-linked. So it's got some really good stuff going for it. So it shouldn't just beat the snot plumb out of you. And the way that they have it mounted up, I'm pretty okay with so far. I don't know why they have these extra tabs on both sides, these little deals I'm pointing at right here, but it is what it is. So the back of it isn't bad at all. We'll go through it and kind of check it out, make sure that all the heim joints are good and that the welds are clean. But so this is a pretty clean little setup. I would like to see this done where it's a lot cleaner, where visually when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's dope, man. I really like that. You know what I mean? So that's done. All right. So on the passenger side, it's all the same thing. So you've seen the roof, you've seen that. It's got the little rust down there, rust down here, that sort of thing. And it's the same thing on this side of the radiator support, you know, the steering up front, that sort of thing. So that's kind of an overview of that. Same little window deal right here that I don't like. Okay, let me go around to the other side. So keeping in mind, this thing runs and drives, okay? It's got 327 and a TH350. So here's our floors. That's where one of the concerns comes in too, because it's just kind of put together. You can see this, okay? You can see all the heat's going to be coming through there. I mean, there's just a lot going on that needs to be different. I like the way that they put the little 8 in the, you know, in the brake pedal, but man, it's rough looking. So I would like to reconfigure a lot of this. Go ahead and get them a good floor in here, a good transmission tunnel. The linkage on the shifter isn't quite right, so all that needs to be gone through and redone. All this wiring needs to be cleaned up and put up. The battery goes up here in the floorboard, so I'd like to see a battery box with like a little floor panel on it, that sort of thing. I don't like the way that the dash is just kind of cut. There's no contour to the bottom of it. So I'd like to see something coming back out, you know what I mean, where it just looks like it's finished and cleaned up, okay? So there's not a lot other than the floor. You know, all the chop looks good and everything. Now, on the top of this, where you see these straps need to have something done to them, because he said when you're going 50, 60 miles an hour, this thing turns to like a tarp and just slaps. He's like, you can't even hear anything. Like, it's so loud. So that needs to be fixed. And up here where this wind visor is, we need to enclose this area and do it in such a way where it won't whistle, won't get water in, that sort of thing. So, I mean, all in all, it's all here. It's all cooler than shit. You know, we just gotta execute on it. Finish the chop right here. You know, this little piece of the dash that's missing. So really, you know, it's not too far off. The good news is, you know, it's all together. It runs and drives. So, man, tell me that doesn't help. Shoot. All of them, man, dude, it's just a dope car. I'd love to have something like this. I think it's probably something I'll start looking into. My uncle has built hot rods for many, many, many years. And this is his style. This is the stuff that he likes. Now, his are typically finished out with $20,000 paint jobs and this, and custom interiors. I can't get into that because I have a wife and kids, and I like paying my bills, and I don't. It's a little rich for my blood. I don't have it like that. So, guys, I just wanted to bring you out here, show you a little walk around on this thing, man. I love it. We're going to go ahead and get started today. I just wanted to get you guys an intro, get this up on the internet, and have you guys walk through it where you kind of see what we're going through. And I'm stoked to be doing this. So once again, thank you, Marcus. The Atomic Rockets is the club that he's with. He's an ambassador here in the States for them. They're out of Belgium. Super cool build, and I'm excited to get it going for you guys. So with that being said, thanks for hanging out with me for just a few minutes. Thanks for listening to me rant, and I'll catch up with you guys here in just a second. right, guys, this is where we're gonna draw it on this video. It's midday Sunday. We went to service and got a few things done. I've got a bunch of book work to do and get next week lined out. So this is where I'm gonna call it. But understandably, this was just a walk around video, and I was doing a few things in there to take a little time before Marcus had a chance to come by and hang out for a little bit. We both got in the car, sat down in it, walked around it, kind of looked underneath it. We just got a good game planned on what we would like to do and execute. Keep in mind, I'm trying to do this where it costs as little money as possible for him or I. So, and that's his plan too. We don't want to spend a bunch of money on this. Like I said, it runs and drives now. It does what it needs to do. I believe he said the name of this is Miss Doolittle. I'll need to confirm that with him, but such a cool little name. And it has a meaning to him with a friend of his, which is a good friend of his, Rose, which is a pinup girl. And that's how I met him, was through Rose. But anyway, there was one thing I'm going to flip you guys around here and show you right quick. So somehow last night while we were running it, we noticed a transmission leak. Didn't leak up until we started it. It looked like it was bubbling up out of the fill tube, which don't really know about. So I'm going to check into a few things. And it's got a small gas leak. But other than that, you know, we're just going to make some cool things and put on there. And you kind of seen in that time lapse, it's not anything dire or critical. At this point, I just didn't want to just be sitting around and not doing nothing and waiting on him. But anyhow, guys, I certainly appreciate your time. If you found value in this, if you like this is going to be a really neat little build. You know, like it. Leave a comment. Your comments are going to tell me how I need to focus the foregoing videos, guys. So, and that sort of thing. If you want to, go ahead and subscribe. It's going to be neat. We're going to, you know, just kind of keep this thing going. I am super busy at work, so I'm trying to cram some stuff in and get some stuff done. So it's not going to be as fast paced, but we'll see what we can do. So until next time, guys, man, I appreciate your time. And cheers and peace.